Good evening. It's Wednesday, June 15th, 2022. Welcome back to BoomerRex Tonight, your nearly daily source for news and politics. I'm RisenLadyHeathen. Hey, asshole. What separates our show from other millennial news podcasts?
I don't know what.
We have a boomer.
You've been waiting.
And not just any boomer. We have Mr. BoomerRex himself.
They have a talkative boomer.
You two eat, sleep, and breathe politics, and I'm learning that's 3 unique perspectives we share along with the facts from our literal round table. Now, let's dig right into our headlines. Bronx Zoo elephant happy isn't a person.
That's so sad. The folks who want to move her to a less restrictive environment tried to get her rid of habeas corpus.
Cute.
And that's an interesting idea, right? So anyway, the New York State Court of Appeals ruled 5-2 that no, the elephant doesn't get rid of habeas corpus because it's not a person.
It'd be incredibly fuck off disruptive, but
Yeah, it could be, right? Again, and the argument is because she's intelligent and so forth and so on. And, well, so is my dog and my cat and my pet snake and
The cows
Yeah.
we eat,
so
the
anyway.
pigs we eat.
But now we have a precedent that no, elephants aren't people,
Yeah.
so and they don't get rid of habeas corpus.
No, I think that it would be more problematic if the answer had been yes. I was surprised that even 2 had voted yes.
Yeah, I mean,
These people probably hang out with PETA too much, I feel.
hey,
Anyway, it's all in your head.
and it turns out it is all in your head.
well, yeah, but
Well, I mean, we've always wondered about, when you get sick, right? You run a fever
Yeah.
and this and that and the other and so forth. And, you assume that's a bodily function, right? No. No, there are a bunch of neurons in the base of your brain that cause all of that.
I feel like that ties in with why men feel headaches differently. But
It absolutely could be. But anyway, they have discovered these neurons right in the base of the brain of little mices. And animal research doesn't always pan out, but I'm pretty sure this is one of those that once nature had discovered it, she used it over and over and over again. But it is interesting that it's the brain that controls these rather than the rest of the body. So things like fever and so on, that we can treat differently than we might have thought of otherwise.
yeah,
So it's an interesting concept. I just thought it was kind of cool.
Right, but it also sounds like it's your brain that's saying, oh shit, we need to handle this issue that's happening.
Yeah,
Do
it's
the
down in the
thing.
base of the brain where it has access to all the other signals from the body, right? And it's on the other side of the blood-brain barrier. So anyway,
it's
it can
external?
sample stuff. Dum, da, da, dum, da, 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 dum, da, 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 dum, da, da, da.
that it gets internal to the blood-brain barrier.
Brain causes symptoms of illness. How and when that happened, induce symptoms. I thought they discussed it, but I don't have it here, so we'll have to look it up. But anyway, it's right down next to the blood-brain barrier on one side or the other. So, anyhow, interesting.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
thoroughly.
Yeah,
I
no.
was sitting here wondering if temperatures aren't the other way around and a way to make other mammals snuggle up to the sick one.
Could be, and come
Because at night they'd be warm.
Yeah.
And
cuddle up next to you and purr.
Yeah.
Yeah. Purring, by the way, is very comforting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Purring is actually healing.
Yep.
It's very interesting. It's why if a cat
Increases
gets run
bone
over and stuff,
recovery
they tend
rates
to
and-
purr.
Yeah.
So, Pecos, more cuddling and purring, less with the claws.
No,
Alright.
it comes with the claws.
Yeah, that's true.
You just gotta take.
Yeah, he just wants
fine.
to.
Yeah, lead you a little.
And the lights
He's a heroic doctor, motherfucker.
went out again.
It's Reverend Dr. Pecos.
So anyway,
I got you.
we've talked about how a major coronal mass ejection could fuck up the electrical system in the U.S.
Well, I want to fuck it up everywhere.
Well, yeah. So
Sometimes
anyway,
after
it turns out
Z-class.
all everywheres aren't the same.
I get a double A class.
Um,
Yeah, double D class so we can die and giggle.
it turns out that you're more susceptible to these disruptions if your ground is not very conductive.
Fuck.
And you know what's not conductive
Fuck.
is all that old granite and so forth on the East Coast where everybody lives. So the Northeast and the East Coast are particularly vulnerable to coronal mass ejections, whereas the entire Southwest has much higher ground conductivity and is much more immune. So Scott thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So
That could be bad. Are they projecting that one of those could happen sometime soon, or? I know we've had a couple of scares that panned out.
you
but
know we'll
nothing.
have the one for which we have the Great Quebec Blackout of 1989. You know, we knew there was a coronal mass ejection coming and so forth. So there were a few hours of warning, or a few minutes.
Will you do shut everything off?
That's probably best, and disconnect the lines because the voltages are induced in the lines, and if you can't cut them loose from your electronic gear.
So
Right.
the best thing to do is just run outside and cut your wire to the house and call them to fix it later.
That might work, but again, there are those 50 transformers that we can blow out, and then we don't come back. So, and it's months to get electricity back. So anyway, yeah, you'd probably see that there was a big complex sunspot that was capable of exotic flares.
Right.
But from the time the flare happens, you really don't have that much time to do something. So at least not in terms of electrical, I mean, it's a whole system that you've got to shut down and so forth and so on. You want to do that gracefully. So,
Would they have
anyway.
time to shut it all down? Would 2 hours be enough?
I don't know. In a lot of cases, you've got a great big hot thing that's running turbines. And the turbines are going to have to keep turning till the great big hot thing gets cooler. So, and the turbines have to be connected to something. So, anyway, interesting. But I thought it was particularly interesting that all that old granite, which is not conductive at all, was just a problem.
Huh.
So, anyway,
All
look
right.
out, New York City.
Yeah, seriously.
It's all shucks. It was only out for 9 hours after the Quebec incident.
Right. Rainforest chimpanzees dig wells.
Well, this was a new observation, right? Because rainforest chimps usually can get water someplace else and so on. And the chimpanzees that dig wells are those that live out in the grasslands. And so they saw a group of chimpanzees that were digging wells, and they traced it back. It's really rare, right? And so its appearance in a rainforest was a big surprise. But while they live in a rainforest and, there's only 1 or 2 months where it's difficult to access water. And it looks like they learned this whole thing from a single individual who did it, and then others copied. So did this individual invent it, or had she learned it somewhere else? In any case, I thought it was kind of interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yep.
All right, Boomer Rex is about damn time. Tell me the good news.
Oh, this is one of those, right? The sovereign citizens.
Oh no.
So anyway, this family were members of the Moorish Sovereign Citizens Organization and called police for help when their car ran out of gas and they're traveling through Thornton. Well, the problem is their license plate, their car's not registered.
Yeah.
So the police show up and they say, guys, this isn't going to work, right? Your car's not registered, etc. And
To which Crazy responded,
that we're not subject to the laws of America.
I'm not a corporation.
And- So anyway, the older one claimed to be a police officer of this mythical sovereign citizen
Fucking
community
gave a
and so
stand.
forth.
Great.
And then one of them fired on a cop and
Oh, well.
swung at a cop.
Oh.
Right. Yeah. And so, well, several of them wound up getting arrested. So, folks,
Pay your taxes.
sovereign citizens horseshit.
Yeah, 13th
So,
Amendment is...
You know, that's not one you want to go down because they will take things away from you, like your car. And it will be expensive to get it back. So, anyway.
All right, dumbass of the day.
So, Joe Lombardo, who's the former Clark County sheriff who rebranded in the primary as a hardline wingy, is projected by the Associated Press to defeat Joey Gilbert, who is a COVID truther and voter fraud conspiracy loony. Anyway, at this point, Lombardo leads Gilbert 38-27 with 82% of the vote counted. So, wouldn't you know it, old Joey Gilbert immediately declared he would not concede the race and will file a lawsuit because obviously this was a fraudulent race. And he said, you know, this whole thing, you know, I smell a lawsuit because this stinks and I'm conceding nothing. And no one likes no-show Joe, and he's absolutely not beating me. And that's, you know, you can't best me in a fair fight or a fair race. And so, again, now the Nevada GOP is very embarrassed by this because this is their primary, which one of their loonies is talking about filing suit about and having hand recounts and all the rest of the fun shit. So, hey, love to watch when the other team is conducting a circular firing squad, bring popcorn.
Yep.
Just love it.
Ugh, so stupid. All right. New SBC president commits to move sex abuse reforms forward.
All right, so the Southern Baptist Convention has a new president, and he says he's going to do things about the sex abuse that they know has been going on, like a pandemic in their little community. And he talks a good game, and he beats some people who didn't. So congratulations, now go do your goddamn job.
Yes.
But I point out, I think it's unlikely that the Southern Baptist Convention is going to do anything of the kind, right? And here's an organization whose patriarchy and purity culture made all of this possible. And I don't
I'm
think
not sure it wasn't the fucking point.
I don't think it's the point. I just think it's
I think it's always been
it's easy
religion's
to
interest in
exploit.
sex.
Oh, sure. That's what they control. That's the whole thing about the purity.
Yeah.
You just can't get you a girl unless he's the one of us.
The people who used to pick who got chucked into the fucking volcano
Yeah.
were enforcing the local power structure.
So, and anytime you think the SBC may be becoming less patriarchal, they were talking about throwing out churches that, or sub-branches that had ordained women.
Yeah.
So, again, the patriarchy is still there. The purity culture is still there. No, you're not going to accomplish anything, right? So 10 years from now, we'll have another great study and another 238 pages of horrible stories about the sex abuse that the SBC ignored. So, no problem.
Police payout in I was going to say New York City. It's North Carolina.
Yeah. You probably
Well,
remember
they
this
were
one.
too.
So this was a classic police riot, right? There were a group of people marching down the street to go vote, right? That had to get out the vote effort, and they were marching to the polls. And so the cops show up in a place where you can't get out of the road and start shrieking that they have to get out of the road,
Yeah.
and start using mace and so forth again. Dead standard police riot. Well, just cost the city $336,000.
Yeah.
That's the agreement. So should it have been
What
that
city?
small? Hell no, Raleigh. So, you know, this is 336,000 is going to be $2 per person. So, anyway, many North Carolinians will pay that to whack on some folks.
Hey, NYPD costs NYC $200 million a year in settlements.
Yeah, no, this settlement is too small. But again, there's a settlement. So,
Something's better than nothing, I
It's
guess.
better than nothing. There are 300,000 in the Raleigh area.
469,698.
Okay.
Man.
So cost the average family $3. Okay.
All right. Fox News host says women's rights and school shootings are luxury issues.
I
So
hate it.
what's the red hot issue?
Oh, man.
I hate it when Fox News gets something right. This just drives me crazy. So they're predicting that Democratic leaders will focus on gun control and the January 6th attack, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They're going to do the best to make the rest of us vote based on January 6th and guns and abortion. Don't forget abortion. They really want to make those big issues, but, those are luxuries, right? So Joe Biden is clueless about what people are suffering through right now. It's outrageous. It's the economy, stupid. You think having told the other team that we would have learned it, but not so much, it seems.
Nope. So we appear to be tuning up to do Carter's solution on inflation? One of them's where it was just the worst. And nothing gets better because corporations are doing fine, so there's not a lot of input from the private side, and government doesn't do that much.
It will help with demand, which is part of the problem this time out. A lot of it is we still have busted supply chains and so forth and so on, and the gas companies are gouging folks right and left, right? The oil companies. So.
Well, and everyone they gouge passes it on, except for the end user.
Yeah. Which is, guess who?
Yep.
So again, this is what happens when an oligarchy decides that they want to make some money. And so they go make some money and all the working folks pay for it. What the hey? They don't even have to get tax cuts now. They can just charge whatever the hell they want.
Sounds about right, and it's exactly what's happening, and it's exactly what we've been saying since the start of all this bullshit. All you need to do is look at gas and say 70% high in profit margins. Huh?
Yeah.
If gas is really costing them as much as they say, why are they making so much fucking money?
Yeah.
Nobody knows.
Because the
Nobody
think
knows.
tanks that they invested in the 90s have taught them the one thing about the American consumer, that you can point to them and sell them a freedom in anything. And that there's some regulation somewhere that causes this. How many memes are you talking about seeing float around that had these claims of all...
If only there weren't all these restrictive regulations, we'd
Never mind
have...
the thousands of leases they aren't using, that we aren't back at a price per barrel of oil that makes fracking anything like economical, which is where a lot of the oil growth had been.
Yep.
We want to talk about that. So
I reported somebody the other day for
Well, it's simple
misinformation
enough.
for sharing something like that.
Their profits are up across the board. That means they're gouging you.
yeah,
So,
but
done.
true. But since the Democrats can't get a handle on it, they're about to get punished for it.
Yep.
Graduating students at Seattle Pacific University gave pride flags to their interim president.
Yeah, turns out Seattle Pacific University has an anti-LGBTQ policy
Of course they do.
that bars them from being hired,
Oh, wow.
which I think is probably illegal.
Yeah.
But hey,
That sounds...
anyway, the students were all
perfectly
talking about not shaking the president's hand when they crossed the stage and so on. And somebody came up, what can we do instead of not shaking his hand? So what they did was they came across the stage and they gave him a flag. Gotta love it.
Yep.
So he wound up with a whole bunch of pride flags.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Do it,
good,
Tiny students.
Yeah.
I believe in you.
Yeah, no, that's what you get. for
nicely
being
done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Updates with BoomerRex
Oh,
Health
God.
Threat.
So, COVID-19 shots for infants, toddlers, preschoolers moved a step closer on Wednesday. The outside advisors said, yeah, do it. This actually closes off a pipeline for COVID infection that we hadn't done anything about. And where we do have, little tightly knit communities, they're playing with each other. They're bringing it from house to house.
Yeah.
So, anyway, get your kids inoculated when the time comes.
All right, climate weirding.
Oh, geez. Well, turns out Yellowstone and the Yellowstone River,
Yes.
well, that's upriver. Now that giant wall of water has moved downriver. And it's moving through Montana's largest city. It's flooding farms and ranches, forcing the shutdown of a water treatment plant, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, highest level in nearly a century. As it went through Billings, it hit 16 feet, which is a foot higher than the water plant can tolerate. So they had to shut the intake. And so they're saying the park could remain closed for a week, but that doesn't tell the whole story, because that road that leads up to the north side of the park, that road's gone.
Oops.
This is not one or two bridges. This is a huge washout, right, that took away the road cut every 400 yards.
Oof.
Right, just wiped that road off the face of the map. And the superintendent is saying, I've heard this is a 1,000-year event. Whatever that means. He says, these days they seem to be happening more and more frequently. Hey, oh my God, weather weirding. So,
yeah, this is exactly what we've been fucking talking about.
Yeah. Right, go ahead, believe in climatology. See what happens. And if you really believe this, you should be making bids on houses on the Florida coast. So, because those prices are going right up, and by God, you can get in there and make a killing. So,
Yeah, as long as you can get out fast enough, sure.
yeah. Well, just remember to have your water wings.
Right? I think actually it's just going to end up that the rich more and more are the only ones who live on the coast, because they're the only ones who can afford the insurance premium. That means you get your
Well, and that's when you know that that climate change is really happening, right? Is when the big insurers start saying, "No, I'm not insuring that because I'm done."
We've had a couple of them move
Yeah, we
on
have.
a couple of places.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it Miami?
And the rates have skyrocketed. So, anyway, they know.
Oh, yeah.
They're not stupid. They're in this to make money. So, anyway, gradually that will help.
Natural disasters are one of the few ways you can have everyone make a claim on a Thursday.
Yeah. Not happy.
All right. So I've got an interesting story that I managed to stumble across just before the show. 911 phone lines and internet were down in rural Arizona, and a man died because of this. So 48 hours.
Yeah.
There was, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cities, towns that were without internet
that's a
and
big
phone
area.
service,
Right.
and also without 911.
Yeah.
And there was a gentleman who was on hospice, and somebody went to check on him, found him down, and then because they couldn't call anybody,
Had to physically
they
go get
had
an
to
ambulance.
Go find an ambulance
Yeah.
and bring it to him, and by the time they got there,
Yeah.
he had passed.
There's no way that story doesn't end that way.
Yeah. Now, the other alternative was throw him in the back of your truck and take him yourself, and that might have ended the same way.
Yeah.
Might not.
Also, a little girl, or I don't know if she was a little girl, but a young girl got cut, like she fell off of a bed or something and cut herself really bad. So they tried to take her to the local medical center or whatever, and they're like, we can't handle this, but they couldn't call anybody
To get her evacuated.
So they had to take her somewhere else, and she's bleeding everywhere, and so eventually they got her to a real doctor, and she was fine. But
Okay.
We're going to start looking up vets.
Yeah. Sew it up.
Oh, it's
Yep.
going to be a bad scar. That doesn't fucking matter.
That's right.
You're going to be alive to be scarred.
It's this officer enlisted. Make the stitches big.
but
16 scars.
the
16 scars.
local police are saying it was a criminal breaking of the internet line.
Yeah, they didn't describe why they think so. So we'll see as we go along. And it could have been.
It could have been either an accident, somebody was digging where they shouldn't have been, which happens pretty regularly. But this has happened before.
On this line.
3 years ago, on the same line, it had been cut again by somebody, whether accidental or not. It didn't really specify.
Now, there are places where they come up out of the ground and they're distributed to the last mile of copper.
Yeah.
Right. And so if one of those facilities were damaged, that's criminal damage, right? That's easy. So, but we have no idea what
it didn't
the damage was. Yeah.
But yeah, so this is the type of thing that we need to be careful of, especially people who live in rural areas, because this company knew this was a problem and they did nothing. So they didn't put in another line somewhere else or anything to make sure that if something like this happened again, people could still access internet through another way and get phones and stuff. So this is, this is pretty scary. The concept of, the phone going out is scary. I think we had that happen once here for a few hours, and the whole time I was very
well, for emergency services, it seems like you might want to try buying a Starlink.
Oh, yeah.
Right, so that you continue to have internet connectivity, which means you can contact anybody you want to contact.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But
so,
yeah,
but it's a modest investment. It's what, $100 a month or something like that. It would make perfect sense for the local sheriff's office to get and share with the local hospital or whatever. So anyway.
But yeah, there's a couple easy things that could be done to, prevent this from being a major issue. But one of the bigger issues with this is that, when your cell phone, you pick it up, you can't call your friend across the street or down the road or in the next town over to help you with a problem.
Yeah.
Because there's no connection. And the concept of that is scary.
Yep.
It really is. So, keep your eyes out, people, and push these companies to do more and do better. And yeah, I know, assholes laughing at me over here, but the only way you make change is by making a big
and be prepared to pay more in taxes.
Yeah.
Right? To get better service and to have what?
I said, and keep an eye on this Bobert thing, and
maybe absolutely.
People made other packs that just randomly pick on other people.
Yeah.
What do we have to do to make it so the owners of tiny companies are public figures?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, they may not deserve it. We could make the owners of giant companies very public figures.
Yep.
So, anyway.
So we've been talking about the January 6th committee hearings. Today's, as most of you I'm sure know, was abruptly postponed. So I've been reading this article from NBCnews.com called January 6th Committee Abruptly Postpones Wednesday Hearing. Written by Rebecca Shabad and Ali Vitali. And they say the House Committee investigating the January 6th attack on the Capitol announced Tuesday it was postponing a public hearing scheduled for 10 a.m. on Wednesday. Representative Zoe Lofgren, Democrat of California, a member of the panel, told reporters that the postponement was due to technical issues stemming from overwhelming demand on staff to produce videos. We're trying to give them a little room, Lofgren said. So that makes sense, right? So they've been doing all these videos and stuff. So now people are requesting clips, right? So they have technical people who are going in and making all these clips for people so they can, share them and use them and such. So this was done as a way to give them some buffer so they can catch up on those requests before the next hearing. And that makes sense.
Yep.
I think that they probably weren't expecting to get quite as many requests as they have been. So maybe that's a good thing.
Yep.
Maybe more people are watching this than we thought, or at least watching highlights.
Yeah, it's a good day of weeks. So I'm fine with kind of how it shook out anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the next hearing is scheduled to take place Thursday, which is tomorrow at 1 p.m. We will be watching
1
it.
p.m. Eastern.
Yes, we will be watching it and reporting tomorrow night for you all. So if you
Excellent.
don't have time to watch it, you'll have, hopefully have some time to listen to our show and be able to be caught up on all the new and exciting things coming through. So Wednesday's hearing had been expected to focus on then President Donald Trump's unsuccessful plan to replace acting Attorney General Jeffrey Rosen with Justice Department lawyer Jeffrey Clark, who was more supportive of Trump's fraud claims. Clark caught Trump's eye after he circulated a draft letter to states that said the department identified significant concerns that may have impacted the outcome of the election. Rosen was expected to testify at Wednesday's hearing along with former acting Deputy Attorney General Richard Donoghue and Steve Engel, former Assistant Attorney General for the Office of Legal Counsel. In our hearings, you will hear firsthand how the senior leadership of the department threatened to resign, how the White House counsel threatened to resign, and how they confronted Donald Trump and Jeff Clark in the Oval Office, Representative Liz Cheney, Republican of Wyoming, said last week at the committee's first public hearing. Thursday's hearing will focus on Trump's efforts to pressure former Vice President Mike Pence to refuse to court certain electoral votes on January 6th, according to Cheney. She said the committee would present testimony from Pence's former general counsel, Greg Jacob, saying that Trump demanded of Pence, wasn't it just wrong? It was illegal and unconstitutional. J. Michael Luttig, a former conservative judge who advised Pence, will also testify Thursday, a committee aide said. It is unclear when the DOJ-focused hearing initially planned for Wednesday will take place. So it doesn't look like they're just pushing that hearing to tomorrow. So instead, they're going to continue with the normal schedule and then do that part at another time. So we also have some new dates for the rest of the hearings, because some of them they hadn't given dates on yet. Great, now I can't find them. Anyway, so
We'll cover them tomorrow.
yeah, no, I'm not overly worried because I think the next one was on the 20th or something, and then the 23rd. Yeah. So it's a while out yet, so not overly worried. We'll let you guys know. But yeah, so that's it. That's what's going on. And don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, heart, follow, review. Go to BoomerXTonight, no spaces, on Facebook for fun memes and a link to our Patreon. Give us $1. You can find us on YouTube as BoomerX, or check your favorite podcasting service for BoomerXTonight. We can be found at over a dozen different platforms, including Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Samsung Podcasts. Hit us up on Twitter at BoomerXTonight. And if you Google BoomerXTonight, no spaces, all links will lead you to us.
All right.
We love you all, and we'll see you back here tomorrow night on BoomerRexTonight.
Good night, Chelsea's.